This from David. Here's a future question for you. In the likely event that Will Stein takes a head coaching gig, do the Ducks elevate from within, or does Dan go to his trusted list of coaches he's been compiling since he was, 12 years old? He has spoken in the past about his Rolodex of coaches that he's got when there is an opening. So this question is particularly appropriate to answer in light of the Dakorien Moore commitment, because as I mentioned earlier in the show, Junior Adams has completely changed the recruiting at this position. I think it has elevated more than any position group that we have ever seen. Cristobal redid it with offensive linemen. And frankly, there were a lot of developmental guys that weren't highly touted prospects. But then there was a Penei Sewell in there. You know, he had Kelvin Banks before he left for Miami, and Banks has gone on to have a good career at Texas. I believe he's starting along the offensive line this year. You know, Kingsley Suamataia was there for about an hour and such. He, I think, got drafted in the NFL. I don't know. He's been starting at BYU the last several years. But we've seen that position kind of elevate. Running backs have been great forever. Shout out Gary Campbell and every running back coach who has succeeded him. But the running back recruiting has always been there. You've had DBs kind of pop in and out, right? Back in the day, Walter Thurman had a great NFL career. Cliff Harris was a baller, of course. You've had some linebackers come and go. Like, that hasn't been the most prolific position per se. But all of a sudden, you've even had some really good tight ends over the years, going back to Ed Dixon. All of a sudden, Oregon is becoming the wide receiver hub out west that is on par or even surpassing USC. I mean, they flipped a kid from USC this past year. I mean, go back to, I mentioned DeAnthony Thomas earlier. That's someone who USC really wanted, and that was a big deal because it was like, wait, this kid from LA is going to come up and play for Oregon instead of going to USC, and he's a 5-star, and he's good. And he lived up to the hype every single ounce of it throughout his entire career. And I think Dakorien Moore is that same sort of guy. But the way that Junior Adams is recruiting this position and where he was previously, he came down from Washington. We know what that receiving corps was like. And he's, of course, got Cooper Kupp on his resume. That guy's pretty good. You talk about a mold for Dakorien Moore, by the way, Cooper Kupp, another good comparison there. His profile is only going to keep getting higher as Oregon keeps recruiting at a level that they've never been. Now, I do think it is notable because Oregon had been recruiting well, not Dallas Wilson and Dakorien Moore and Gatlin Bear well, because those are all commitments that have come here in calendar year 2024. And Bear is, of course, going to arrive in 2026. Just think about this world for a moment. This is going to be a really, really quick sidebar. It never is with me, but I'll pretend that it will be this time. You have a 2026 receiving corps that is Dallas Wilson, it is Dakorien Moore, it is Jeremiah McClellan, and it has Gatlin Bear in it with Jerion Dickey. That would be, 4 5-stars and a highly rated 4-star flip from Ohio State. Ryan Pelham could be in the mix, the flip from USC. That is not something that you had 10 years ago when Oregon was bursting onto the scene and 15 years ago into national prominence with Chip Kelly. That has just been a Junior Adams masterclass on recruiting, development, and branding. So we outside, as they say. That's been their mantra. Well, Junior Adams is outside the home of every receiver recruit he wants, apparently, knocking on doors and saying, hey, why don't you come play for me? So I think his stock has certainly risen because of the way he's recruiting. And it is notable that Dan Lanning went out and hired Will Stein and did not promote Junior Adams the first time. Does that mean he would pass over Junior Adams the next time? Might come down to the priorities that Junior Adams has and also what Dan Lanning thinks. If he doesn't believe that Junior Adams is the best choice to be Oregon's offensive coordinator, and Adams gets that opportunity elsewhere, which he might on his recruiting prowess alone, which I'll touch on in a moment, then yeah, Lanning will let him walk. He'll go and I'm sure try to give him a bigger salary and get him to stay and convince him, but ultimately he might have to choose between making someone his OC who he passed over once before, and I think whatever that reason was, there was a reason for it, or You keep a guy who is an elite recruiter and a great developer of talent, which has been proven at every stop he's ever been. That's Dan Lanning's call. That's part of being a head coach in college football. Part of being the CEO of the program is you make those sorts of decisions. You get paid the big bucks to get it right. Whether or not Adams is seen as capable of being a high-level offensive coordinator somewhere does not matter in relation to whether someone will offer them hit the offensive coordinator position. Because when you recruit like he does, that matters a lot. Perfect example is Marcus Arroyo. Arroyo, I think all of us would agree, he's the offensive coordinator down with Dillingham at Arizona State, for those who did not know. He, while at Oregon, was known as a really good recruiter. He was at a program that was winning at a high level. Did any of us, or really the football community writ large, see him as a schematic mastermind? Was the play calling clever, smart, explosive, innovative? Nope, not the way we describe those offenses at all. And yet, he got the UNLV head coaching job. He was able to find a bigger opportunity. Why? Because he could really recruit. And Junior Adams is making a big, big name for himself. So I don't know if he has a future as the OC at Oregon, but if you keep bringing in players like this, someone is going to say, I will give you more money and a bigger role if they're not going to make you the OC, if you can bring those sorts of guys over to my school over here. He's just doing a magnificent job right now. And I think Oregon is very lucky to have him, and I hope they're able to keep him around for a long, long time. Whether or not they'll be able to, that's going to be mildly challenging here. Before we get to our last segment of the day, I wanted to play a clip from our guy Brian Smith talking to Oregon 2025 offensive line commit Szier Addison, sharing his thoughts about his commitment to Oregon. Here's what that sounds like.
All right, here with Szier Addison, recent Ducks commit. Obviously got the shirt on. Biggest reason for picking Oregon would be?
It will be the coach. It'll be the coaching staff and where they're going. I believe what Coach Lanning is building, and I want to compete for a national championship and compete for a star spot my freshman, my sophomore year. And I believe that's what Oregon can do for me. It's very family oriented. They've been recruiting me since I was sophomore. They really believed in me from the jump since I ran track. And when a lot of people really didn't see the upside I had, and now I'm 6'5", 290 pounds, best tackle in the country, and they recruited me like I'm still a sophomore. They didn't change at all during the career process. And Coach Terry, I'm going to give a shout out to Coach Terry. Having 5 brand new starters and we can have top 5 for the country, moving to the Big Ten with more weapons. I believe they're going to win the national championship in the next upcoming years, and I want to be part of that. I'm looking forward to be playing with Dante Moore, a five-star quarterback. That's going to be a draft pick. So there's going to be draft picks all around me, and I'm a dog. I'm going to compete for whatever's next. I'm going to be the best. You're going to get an Outlet Trophy winner. You're going to be the best. You're going to get one of the best to ever come out of Oregon.
What was the visit like? Explain to somebody who's never been to Eugene, what is the campus like in your opinion?
It's beautiful. The campus is beautiful. They got the glitz and glamour, but I was really looking forward. I was really trying to get in the meats of both things of the coaching staff, how family-oriented it is, and can I fit the locker room presence and all that type of stuff. And then, I fell in love with school my first 2 visits, but I feel like I wanted my whole family to get the whole feel of it. You know what I'm saying? So once I got my dad and my baby sister up there, and once they saw what I saw, I just committed on the spot.